is from Mama too.
No, I don't think the other one is from
Okay, I guess the other one was from another mother. Michelle Tanner and her family.
What? Don't you cry. You cry.
This is from Michelle Tanner and her family. This is from Richard and Deanna and Davy and Rachel and Richie. That's my brother. I found it. This is from Ronnie and Phyllis Pipkins.
Oh, you can't get down. You cannot run around. Judi, are they all going in that sex? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. This is from Sharon and David and the kids.
You have to take them out. Judi,
Okay.
Judi, you have to take them out.
Why not? Towels. She knows I need them.
When I said you wouldn't get excited, but you knew.
Yes, they're excited.
Hey, Judi, pull that out.
What difference does it make?
Yeah, those are those.
Daddy's got your brother. I'll take it. Mommy's gonna go get it.
Then is they far more than we would ever dare to ask or even dream of. Golf courses and fishing. I'll go along with that. That's cute.
And this is from Brother Gary's mama. This is from Grandma Keene. Miss Keene.
Judi, you'll cry at home tonight when you start reading.
I know I can't help but read them. This is from the Adrian report. Our lives are touched by many people, but only a few that leave a special feeling in our hearts which lasts forever. Sweet. I think this is that card from Stacy's group.
Oh, very.
This is from Barbara and Chubby. That's my sister and her husband. This is another. This has got doves in it. What does it play, Barb? Where's she at? Where's she at?
It'll be on the back and down the bottom.
Unchained Melody. I love stuff like this. That was from Mr. Bailey. Marcus. This is from Brother Doyle and Sister Mary.
That's my turnip green man. Where's he at? Go away. There he is. That's my turnip green man. About once a week or so, he'll bring me down some turnip green.
They keep Gary in turnip green. This is Ladies Talk.
Something Randy did last night, right? I put those things on and I said, oh my Lord, it's for her.
A whole bunch of dish towels and washcloths and towels and
That's almost like getting married all over again.
Last 25 years, you got
those
nothing.
pretty.
You need to go Judi, your color must be blue.
I wonder what some people buy me.
We need some new towels.
I'm gonna tell you what it's made of.
We need some new towels.
No.
Hey, one of them got a blue phone seat. That man.
This is from Sister Margaret and Herschel.
Got it right.
I'm got a new dress. Back on the surface road, got to try
I love these. This is from Sister Margaret and Herschel.
I do too.
Yeah, Michelle had these burning for me.
You told me put it.
Friends in the world.
Whose was this? Misty's. No, Phyllis. Here, I gotta watch on this. Gio. That baby.
Found another present from Pete and Miss McGuire and Bernie. Thank you very much. And Carly got me something. Oh, yeah. Careful. I'll give it.
that we're going to let everybody talk about Daddy and Mama to their face. All right? And the first one they told me to ask, and if everybody would, be real quiet because you have a little bit of hard time hearing. And the Masterson side of the family, please remember we are under a time constraint. We have church in the morning. Okay? All right? Anyhow, we're gonna the first person that we're going to have come and say something about Mom and Daddy, and if anybody has anything to say that's not good, my brothers and I will see you outside the building when this is over with. I don't think that'll happen, I'm just teasing. But the first one we're going to have come and say something about Mom and Daddy is Grandma Keene. Come up here. Talk about it.
He's a wonderful son, and I love him. He does a lot of things, you know, when he's little. But and he watched me cook a lot. So that's how he knows how to cook. They called him House Cat. And some of the oldest boys could say, holler, Ed, he'd go call himself Ed. And he'd run away down the hall, and then he'd look back and see them boys still looking at him. And I love him very much, and I love you too, Judy.
Alrighty. We love Grandma Keene very much. Ourselves, we think a lot of Daddy too. Next one that gets to say something will be Granny Barron. Remember what I said too.
Now, why would he think I'd say that derogatory?
You turned it off, Maxine.
No, she didn't.
I don't know why he'd think I'd say anything derogatory about him.
I wasn't meaning derogatory. I was talking about that
About my
long-winded
children.
stuff.
I love Gary and I love Judy. And Judy was always such a sweet little girl. I remember when she first started trying to ride a tricycle, she was riding one that just had 2 wheels. And as everybody knows, a tricycle's supposed to have 3. So I came home and Mother told me, she said, you've got to do something about that. I want you to look at that child. And I got my brother by the arm and I said, I think it's time we go buy something. And he said, oh boy, I get to go with you. And we went and got her a tricycle and brought it back and set it down, and her little eyes lit up and her little hands come together and she just clapped big. She was a joy to buy for. If I bought her a new dress, she just clapped and smiled. She was always a very easy child to buy for. And ever since Judy and Gary have been married, they have just been an example of 2 people that love one another, and don't you dare say anything against my spouse. This has been Judy's attitude, and it's been Gary's attitude toward Judy. And I'm really proud that they love each other this much. I told somebody else in Salt Lake just a little while before we left, I said, when I think about a husband that loves his wife and never will hear a bad word about her and never says, I've never ever heard him criticize her or take her down in any way, never. And I'm really proud of that. I think that's really to be commended in a husband. He's always honored her very much, and I appreciate that. And I love them both.
This one?
They don't know I'm still not here. I'll try to take 3 to 5 minutes all over.
That's all right. That's all right.
Since this is, you know, we don't want to take too much time here. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Lord for allowing us to meet here this day with our brother and sister-in-law together here for this special occasion. Most of the time in every couple's life, there's always usually one person that usually gets that couple together. And in Gary and Judy's case, I'm that person. There's a little story behind that. that takes us back to November the 21st of 1969. Boy, those were the days. That day was my 16th birthday, and in order to double date with my brother that night, I had to find him a date. It's not that he couldn't find his own date, you see. It was the fact that I couldn't go out with the boy that I wanted to unless I found him a date and we double dated so he could look after me. That's how older brothers are, you know. So, I set out that day at school to do just that. And the opportunity came in the girls' locker room when all of my classmates and girlfriends were in there together. I walked in the locker room that day and I said, and Mom always thought I was real shy. And I said, okay girls, I said, who would like to go out with my brother tonight? Well, nobody said a word, and I thought to myself, well, I've got to make this a little more interesting, or nobody's going to say anything. So I said, well, I'll describe him a little bit. I said, he's about 6'2", blonde hair and blue eyes. And above all, the rest of the girls, I could hear Judy's voice, which echoed. So,
I unseen.
her voice always kind of echoed, you know, above everybody else's. So we all went out that night, double dated, and had a good time. Now here we are, 27 years, 4 sons, 2 grandsons, later into 1996. They've had 25 years of a wonderful marriage, and I want to wish them many, many years to come. My brother and sister-in-law are very special to me. They have a special place in my heart. We all have shared good times and sad times, but with the help of the Lord and the Lord's great healing power, I think their best years are yet to come. Thank you for letting me share my memories and their memories with you. Thank you.
I'm awful proud Mama spoke up that day. For obvious reasons. All right, the next one, to get to talk, and before she comes up here, I'd like to thank her very much for what she's done today to do this for Mom and Daddy. Aunt Leanna, come up here, please.
Minnie says talk. All I want to do is cry. There's so much you can say at a time like this that there's really not anything to say because you don't know where to start. What I would like to say is that, for one thing, I want to thank all of you for coming. And the one thing I have requested so much, and I don't know how many of you heard me say this, but I said, we want to honor Judi and Gary, and you cannot honor them by staying home. No matter what you sin, no matter what you do, you can't honor them by staying home. And I want to thank all of you for coming today, because this is the greatest tribute to this couple, is that people drove for miles. And they came a long ways to honor this couple, and that's beautiful, because that is the greatest tribute to the kind of friends they are. It's not just the kind of friends they have, but it's the kind of friends they are. They've been that to all of us. They've been family, but they're also our friends. There's a lot that I could get really emotional about if I tell you how much I appreciate the fact that my sister has tried to hold basically open house every day at her house, because that's the way Grandma was, and she's been the same. She's made it to where that everyone in the family feels welcome to walk in at any time. You don't have to wonder, if I go to Judy's, will they, if they're there, will I be welcome? That's not even a question. You know you are. And that is a wonderful tribute to them. Also, I would like to say that as a little girl, Judi was always very special. And she was the only one that I know of that ever went to my husband when we were dating, and she says, "WT," she said, "now whatever else happens while you're dating, don't ever let Leanna pounce on you because she'll just squish you flat." This was typical little girl. When we would be scuffling at the house, if I really got upset with her and Betty, I would say, "If you don't leave me alone, I'm going to pounce on you." And so I would run them in and throw them on the couch, and then I would jump on them. And that was like my worst, absolute worst thing I could do to them. And so she told me, don't. And so every so often he still says, "Honey, all I ask is just don't pounce on me." But Judi was always such a special little girl when she was little. She was always so pretty that we were all proud to call her sister. She had the most beautiful hair, and I used to envy her hair because they called mine was dishwater blonde, and that sounded so inelegant, and hers was red, and it was just gorgeous. Or they would call it strawberry blonde, or all these wonderful words, but mine was just plain dishwater blonde. So I was always very envious of my little sister because I thought she was so pretty. And, you know, we just spoiled her to death. So when her and Gary first was talking about getting married, I was at the house, and I was a girl.